Hello, everyone, and welcome from this week's edition of the Jitsi Community Co. I'm sorry for the noise around me. I hope you guys can hear me. Um, it should stop quickly. So why don't I mute and I let and I see if anyone from the team wants to update folks on what's been going on.
I can talk a little about the changes in with Colibri. Um, we've been running Colibri version 2 and Secure Octo on Jitsi for I'm not sure, multiple weeks. And it's now also deployed in our 8x8 production service. So we're going ahead with the deprecation and removed support for Colibri 1 in GCOFO. One unintended side effect of this is that uh, WebSockets for Colibri are now required for Octo. Um, so if you have a deployment where you're using Octo and you update your system, you're going to need to enable WebSockets. This has been the recommended way for a long time anyway, so I hope that no one is affected by it, but if you are, you need WebSockets. Damien pinged me about it today, and I'm going to add some logs so that this issue is easier to diagnose.
And when you say WebSockets, you mean the WebSockets for communication with the bridge,
Yes.
just to make clear.
Yeah, thank you. With that in mind, we realized that we don't really have a good understanding of how people use Jitsi Video Bridge outside the context of Jitsi Meet and GCOFO. So we just noticed last week that Octo is not supported by the REST interface, which means that for sure no one is using it that way. But we don't know if there's other people using it through XMPP, if they're using it through REST, are they using Octo, and so on. So to try to understand that, we created a forum, a little survey. So if you have a project that uses Video Bridge without GCOFO or uses a heavily modified version of GCOFO, please take a minute to fill it in. This would really help us to make decisions in the future when we consider deprecating functionality and so on. I'll share the link here, and I'll also post it in the community in a few minutes. That's all.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to chime in?
One thing we were working last week was to make sure that the latest version of GTmeet is compatible with the new Procedure 0.12. So that is done, and once we push the new stable release, that will be out. That's it.
Thank you, Damien. We're also, just a quick one from me, we have started getting in touch with people who were interested in experimenting with our Jazz components, or that is using our SIP services, including Gigasis, and recorders and live streamers and transcribers. We're currently for your own Jitsi Meet installation. So we've made it pretty easy over the years to get your own installation of Jitsi Meet. However, configuring a SIP infrastructure to properly service a Jitsi Meet installation is rather complicated, and we're solving that problem now. So we have started experimentation. There's someone that is making noise around their microphone. Please, everyone, mute. Thank you. So you all, we're solving that problem now, and starting the experimentation with the SIP service. One last call. Anyone else wants to update?
I think it's Google Summer of Code starting. So I don't. I think it is, but I don't know. I have more details. Who? Unfortunately, I think Solo is
That's
partnering.
a that's a good point. Let me post here the link for everyone interested to participate. This is a great way to get involved with the project. If you know students, I posted it. If you know students who are, I'm sorry about this. If you know students, sorry, Boris.
Um, I'll take this one then, Emil, since you have noise. Um, the application period for contributors begins today and lasts for the next 2 weeks. So if you're interested, check out uh, our project ideas on GitHub and go on the Google Summer of Code website to file an application. So would be the best person to talk about this, but I don't think he's here right now.
Yeah, and I did want to thank you, Boris, and I did want to say that this is a great way to get involved not only in Jitsi but in open source. We've had many successful participations over the years. There are people who got involved in Jitsi for the first time through Google Summer of Code and are still active contributors to this day. So if you are interested in this or if you know anyone interested, please send them over to the jitsi.org website or the link that I posted here. Um, okay, I think that's pretty much. Thank you, Jonathan, for reminding me. And I think that pretty much completes the update from the team. I'm opening the microphone to the floor. Are there any questions or comments from the community?
Hey, hey, Emil. This is Kiran. Hi.
Hey there.
Um, I've came across a situation. I just want your suggestion if you can help me on that. Uh, Basically, we have rolled out latest distributed infrastructure. We are using um, like latest unstable, and we have a mobile application core which is working on pretty much older versions of Jitsi backend. But now it's kind of very old, taken from Jitsi repository. It's nearly it is 1 year old code, and it's not updated after that. So we are making a video feeds here when someone rejoins the call or connects and disconnects audio, we are losing the video tracks. Do you have any debugging or upgrade suggestion?
So just so I understand what you're asking for, you use a very old version of some of our components, and it stopped
Yes,
working for
it's
you, and you're asking for help debugging that.
no. I'm just asking for suggestion. Like, what we need to do? Should we update the Bitsimit source code for mobile application, or should we debug and find out the problem? Like, what would be the easiest
Yeah.
and
So in general, every time you have a problem, um, the rough way to solve it is, first of all, is does it work with the reference implementations of GT Meet? So that means the mobile app
yes,
that you get from the App Store or the web version. If it does work there, you start eliminating the differences between what you have and what the reference application is. And it sounds like an update is a sensible first step to doing that.
absolutely. So, yes, it definitely works with the public Jitsi Meet and in the web version of Jitsi Meet. So, And as I've said, it's a React Native application for mobile. So uh, definitely we'll have to update it to support a new version. Am I correct?
You're sorry, I'm not. So I don't know that if you updated, if updating is the only way to fix things. I'm just saying that it is the most sensible first step to try and remove the problem. And at least if that doesn't work, you'll be in a closer situation to we are, and it'll be more likely for us to be able to help with suggestions. I'm not
Mhm.
I'm not saying something particularly um, uh, germane to your problem specifically, but um, it's a more likely way of getting help.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. However, to explain the situation more clearly, we have a React Native application with a lot of UI customization. Complete UI has been customized, and the source code we took was nearly a year old, and we don't have any history of modification. So updating is kind of difficult here too.
I understand. I don't think anyone here has jumped in with other suggestions than this one, though. So I'm afraid that's the only one that I can come up with.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't do more. Any other questions from the community?
I do have one question, Emir.
Go ahead, Kaidwan.
So basically, I started working on a REST API of the GT's implementation, but I do something a little bit different. At first, I installed the latest GT's Meet application on my own server, and then everything works perfect. Okay, and then I changed the Jigofo code. Now the Jigofo code uses the Calibri library, Calibri protocol to communicate with JRB, right? Video bridge. And what I changed very little, I copied a JSON serializer, a deserializer class. Okay, two files, JSON serializer, JSON deserializer to Jigofo. And whenever Jigofo send collaborate channel allocate, I convert to JSON first. And then I send it over REST API to JRB. So this REST API. Then when after JRB return REST API in JSON, I use JSON deserializer convert to Colibri IQ back. Okay, and I found a little bit of issue in a JSON serializer because it was something I put everything code on GitHub. I fixed that one. For example, the IC candidate package extension, something like that. That I fixed it to make it work, and it works. It worked for video call, and I turn over the P2P, okay, and then after about several minutes, and the video is gone. The UI I didn't change the LibGT the UI part. I didn't change the client code at all. Okay, I just changed Go and JRB above little bit change. And then I look at the code. I look at the log. The video turned off. I posted a question to the community and look at the log. Look at JRB log. JRB complain. It use REMB. But in a signaling, I look at SDP signaling in a WebRTC internal, and there's no REMB in a SDP over answer at all.
Yeah, we've seen that ourselves. We don't know why, but clients sometimes send REMB packets even when REMB is not enabled.
Yeah.
Because of that, we just ignore it. But your logs that show bandwidth estimation equals -1 suggest that TCC isn't working either. So you should
Okay.
check.
Good question.
I've actually found recently a bug in the Calibri One JSON serializer where it was missing, I think, serialization of one of the RTP header extensions, which is needed for bandwidth estimation. So that I should have a fix for that relatively soon. That said, this is very relevant to what the area that Boris was just talking about. So please do fill out our survey, because this is where we're going to go to. That's the all serializing and deserializing Calibri 1, and we're trying to move to Calibri 2 for new features are basically only going to get added to Calibri 2. So you might want to take a look at that, and hopefully I'll have a PR for that sometime this week.
And let me do more, okay? Let me share my screen. I just made a call, okay? And I share the JRB log. One moment, okay? So Windows. Can anyone see my screen now?
Yep.
So look here, right? Look at this one. Of course, the very interesting thing. If I run this application, run everything in my local environment, in my local lab, two parties all turn off the video. But I already put the code on cloud, on DigitalOcean. If I move the code to cloud, I can share the code. Everyone can play around. Only one side the video is turned off. Another side video is still on, but the video is very blurry. It's not clear. So you look at the code, it's here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Kairo, and I think it's clear from here that your bandwidth estimation is not properly set up. Whether it's it could be because of the serializer, and that's the bug that Jonathan's referring to, or it could be that we're simply not doing a good enough job from the REST interface to set whatever it is that you're trying to set.
I agree with you. Yeah. May can your team take a look? I already pushed the code to the GitHub, so you can try my server. It is I already put it in a www.increify.com.
Well, that's we don't usually have time to go and look into other people's modifications, but Jonathan is going to put in his fix for the serializer, and then could you please also fill in the form to indicate the way that you're using the bridge, so that we know how much attention we need to pay to these things. But I think the right thing to do here is that after the serializer fix lands, we should just trace specifically the configuration of bandwidth estimation, and see how far along it makes it into the bridge, and whether it's properly set up, and why it isn't. I don't know if Boris and Jonathan, that makes sense as next step. So
yeah,
I agree. I think that makes sense. It does sound like there's something going wrong with the bandwidth estimation, and it could be the serializer bug. So.
Yeah, I definitely I dig into deep, because I will be on other stuff, so I take a hold on this issue, but I definitely will. But from my brief examine of the SDP of answer from the WebRTC internal, I don't see any difference between the old version.
It's not offer answer. Once it gets negotiated in offer answer, it goes all the way to Jikofu, and from Jikofu it gets to the bridge, and that's where it gets broken.
Yeah, the issue would be the communication between Jikofu and the bridge.
Okay. Oh, so basically you mean there's something wrong between Jikofu and JRB.
Yeah.
But what I did, I said, right, I just convert. Okay, so you think it's something like in a JSON serializer or something wrong there?
That's my suspicion. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I would take a look at this one. But if you have time, you can just take a look at my change. It's very small of the serializer change. Very small. Also, the Jikofu is very small.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at the if you've mentioned this, I'll point you at my PR once it's ready. You have a comment discussion on this on the community, I can point you at that in the community.
Everything is on the GitHub. I will definitely keep looking at the issue, because
Karon, have you opened an entry on community.jitsi.org about this issue?
Yes.
Can you please post the link here so that Jonathan can?
Okay, one moment. Okay, it's there. I already put it in here, right?
So, right.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, Jonathan, there's a post a little bit from do you see, Jonathan?
Yeah, I forked Jikofu and JRB. You can change very minor.
I see it.
Right. Yeah. So Jonathan will let you know when the
Okay.
serializer patch
Yeah.
is ready for review. Again,
Okay.
I don't know whether we'll be able to look into
Yeah.
another code
Yeah.
repo.
Yeah. Definitely, I will keep investing in this issue. And when I have time, because I will be on other stuff, so I take a hold on this one.
Okay.
But it's very interesting because at the beginning I was surprised. So it just works, right? And then 2 minutes later,
Now
and then
you've done a good job tracing that to bandwidth estimation. So it's pretty clear that something's going wrong there. We just
yeah,
have to figure out
I
what it
believe
is.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pavel.
Thank you.
I believe you were the next one with the raised hand.
Hey guys, it's Pavel here. Damian, I have one question for you regards the Prosody 0.12 migration. Were there any major issues with that? Like some Prosody plugins incompatibilities maybe, or something else?
I don't remember.
I think it was mostly about that they have published versions of things that we were also publishing, and so then there was something about
Yeah, but was there something before that? I just remember.
The all owners patch needed to be slightly changed. So the muck all owners thing was failing to be applied to 0.11 when we have a version for 0.12. That was the only one that I can recall offhand.
Yeah, but that will not be needed once
Correct.
0.12.1 is released, because they fixed it in Prosody and the patch will not be needed anymore. And what I was looking at were the two things. First is the SMAX module, that we have a SMAX in Jitsi Meet, which is no longer needed because it's now in Prosody, and they have worked a lot on it to improve its performance, because the one we were using from Prosody modules, the community ones, was not, especially on closing WebSocket, it wasn't very good in performance there. This is one thing, and there was basically nothing to change. I think all the parameters and everything.
There's the cores stuff. So basically in 0.12.0, they start sending cores headers by default all the time. Whereas if you were injecting your own course headers, like we were naively via Nginx, the rule will basically cause you to inject multiple course headers with different values. And that was causing some issues. So we basically ended up fixing that ourselves by just suppressing the course headers as sent by Prosody and continuing to send the course headers we'd intended via our Nginx. But that's only a concern if you are somehow already injecting course headers and you weren't already just letting Prosody manage all of that.
Yeah, and that wasn't the case for the default configuration.
And in 0.12.1, they will allow you to disable them on the Prosody side, but 0.12.0 do not have a flag for that.
And the second thing I was looking at was the external services for the Turn server announcement. I needed to adjust our module to reuse some code from the process. So they have a slight change there because it was thrown an error. And yeah, that was all.
Oh, did you want to talk about your Ubuntu 22.04 updates, Damien? I was curious about the community.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention that thanks this for the 0.12 and for the Ubuntu thing, it's we got a lot of help from the community. Thanks for that. So yeah, we were approached that the 22.04 will soon be LTS, and the default GTMeet install doesn't work there. So we needed to fix that, and it was some packaging. So we were by default installing Java 18 because of some dependency shenanigans, and we needed to fix that. So we default to Java 11, which is what we support at the moment. Also, Jonathan found the some depend to be able to use the OpenSSL thing in the bridge. We needed to add one more dependency, and I think that was all. And so yeah, the next table should support the latest procedure and the 2204 .2 release. Thanks for reminding me.
Great, thank you.
And we had Summer, I think.
Yes. I just wanted to ask, so a couple of our users have issues where they have a single monitor, and when they go to screen share, they get the tunnel effect. I noticed that if you disable the self view first, you avoid that. So I posted in the forum and was suggested to come here to discuss, because there might be some privacy issues around kind of creating a workflow that prompted people to disable the self view or to do it automatically when screen sharing.
So I'm not. What is the workflow that prompts people to disable the self view?
To create one, sorry. So if you were to click the screen share, giving you an option in like the screen share where you have share system audio, just have another one for disable self view to prevent that tunneling effect whenever you do it, or to automatically disable the self view whenever someone starts screen sharing. But there were some issues with privacy concerns, as you wouldn't be able to see what you're actually sharing at that point.
So, how exactly do people end up in tunnel view in your case?
So our users are clicking the screen share and then they're sharing their desktop. And since they're currently looking at the Jitsi view, then it creates that tunneling effect where
But
they're sharing what they're seeing.
That doesn't normally happen. The only reason this happens, the only time this happens, and let's just all be clear, because I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Tunnel view is not a problem. It may confuse some people, but tunnel view is just the normal functioning of the app, showing people what they asked to see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
and
now
I understand that as a technical stance, but it's just a user experience
right.
question that I've been
Well,
getting a lot.
I don't know. I like to ask back the question: do users complain when putting two mirrors against each other also reserves an infinity effect? So that has obviously come up enough times that we just want the topic to end. So we've tried to make this less likely to happen. And it normally doesn't happen if you share your screen in the conference. It only happens because we don't normally focus on that window by default. It only happens if you're alone in a conference and then you share your screen. Now it doesn't need to, I don't think that disabling the self view is necessary. You're right, that completely introduces, to some extent, privacy issues, but also just usability issues. Sometimes people just want to have a quick way to check that they are sending what they intend to be sending. There could be, even for self view, just a way for us to focus away from the shared desktop. It is something that we've considered, and we're probably going to try a few things in the future. If anyone here wants to try their hand at doing that, I don't believe that's going to be too much work. But other than that, I can only say that, yeah, we acknowledge that there's potentially a little more work that we can do to avoid the confusion that this causes for people, and at some point it will happen, but unfortunately I can't tell you when exactly.
Okay. If someone were to, post a PR, would you guys consider it? That was
Sure,
the
but
question in the forum. It just we didn't want to do the work if it wasn't
absolutely,
something.
yes, absolutely, but then we'd have to agree on the solution first, because a solution where people are asked, do you want to disable your self view, doesn't sit right with me, because most people, the overwhelming majority of people, are going to wonder, why are you asking me this question?
I agree.
And not to mention that we can't really modify the dialogue that people see when they're sharing their screen, because it belongs to the browser, not to us. But let's say a solution where in the flows where this is likely to happen, and I think the only one I can come up with, you're alone in a room and you share your screen. But if there are other ones, we can add them too. In these flows, we intentionally focus on something else after sharing the screen, so that whatever tunnel effect happens is limited to a little thumbnail. And I think that's probably going to be good enough for most users.
Like the invite panel or something.
Well, we just have to make sure that we, put people in stage view, and then we show even an empty window, I think, or something like that. Or that could be one solution. Or another solution could be, look, where by default, once you start sharing your screen, your local representation of the screen is replaced with an icon. And if you want to, so the self view is still there, it just shows an icon. And if you want to see it, you have to click on an extra confirmation, like either on the thumbnail itself, or on the icon itself if it's in large view, and that's a solution that we would take. So yes, we would absolutely take a PR that goes in that direction. Does that make sense, Summer?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll brainstorm about that, and I'll post it in the forum. And if you guys agree, we might look at trying to get a PR.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
And I think I was mispronouncing your name. I was misreading it. I'm sorry.
Happens all the time.
All right. Anyone else? All right. In that case, thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.